Greetings from Columbus, Ohio, and welcome to the MLG. We have been having a lot of fun down here. Tasting our toasts from Seoul, Korea, host of the GSL. Check us out more at gomtv.net, but enough about that. On to this match that we're about to cast. It's going to be pretty crazy, Artosis.
It is. They are getting ready. MKP against SaSe. But first, I think we're going to go over the groups a little bit. Get a little update and see how everyone's doing, because there's a lot of games being played at the same time right now.
Yeah, it's not easy to keep up on all these results. Everything's happening so fast, so many games. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's been going on in Pool A. Marine King right now, 2 wins, no losses. Gonzi not looking so good at 0-2. SaSe and MC at 1-1.
Wow, SaSe and MC at 1-1. In fact, we casted SaSe and MC on a different screen, and that was actually very close. So yeah, SaSe doing very well in his group.
Going on into Group B here, as you can see, a DRG with 1 win, no losses. Naniwa just losing 1 game, but no wins yet. And, you know, pretty even so far down here. DeMuslim also down. Yeah.
That's a little bit of an upset. Everyone was thinking DeMuslim would take that. In fact, he took game 1, but ended up going down.
And in Pool C, we can see that Huck is up with 2 wins. Violet is 1-1. We're getting some cheers there from the Huck fans in the audience. Of course, a very popular player here at MLG, an MLG champion. Rhett down 0-2, and now Sake tied at 1-1.
Wow, Rhett, the one that we were really counting on to do really
well. I know,
well,
we were hyping him a lot. I guess so far it's not going so well for him. Oz up 1 game with no loss, partying, winning 1 game, no losses there. Grubby.
Well.
Oh, well, actually, that can't be right.
Yeah, that's not quite right.
Anyways, according to this graphic, Grubby.
Grubby lost to the STC, so that's going to be 1 win for the STC.
Saw that.
But wow, that's not that many upsets really. Grubby did take a game off the STC as well, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to unfold and see how this whole thing's been turning out. And it looks like actually, I think we're almost ready to get this going. Are you guys ready? Make some noise. And the nerds go wild. It is so packed down here.
Yeah, there are a lot
of
people out there, man.
It's actually really cool. You know, as I think a lot of you guys know, we live in Seoul, which is sort of the mecca of esports. But to see events that are this big, with this many people down here, with this much support, and not just for StarCraft, but for all these esports games, means we have a beautiful future. Over here in the red in the upper right, we have first place in MLG Winter Arena. Make some noise for MarineKingPrime. His opponent in the opposite corner of the map. He's been in Korea for some time, training with the best of the best. This tournament, very important for his career. Make some noise for SaSe.
Well, the map is dual site tasteless.
Yes.
This is a map quite notorious for that build that every Protoss does love to face against, the 1-1-1.
Yeah, it's you know, the travel distance, the architecture of the map makes it a very doable thing to do that rush. The 1-1-1, of course, is for the noobs that are watching. We're trying to stay noob friendly. By the way, both players, well, MarineKingPrime wishing his opponent good luck. The 1-1-1 is a mixture of Marines, siege tanks, Ravens or Banshees, you know, and you send your SCVs with it very often.
Yeah.
And what it does is, if the Protoss isn't perfectly prepared, he just gets run, or she just gets run over.
That is right. And will Marine King do that here? I'm not so sure. This guy is such a beast in TVP that, you know, he doesn't really have to.
Yeah, I don't think he will. We'll see, though. MarineKingPrime's having a pretty good run so far. A lot of people, you know, ask, what do the Korean players think of SaSe? Well, at this point in time, the Korean players, they, you know, think of other Korean players as people who play on the Korean server. It's not so much an ethnic thing. As it is just, where are you training? Are you training on the Korean server? Okay, then you're like Korean. Are you training, you know, the European server? Well, then you're basically a European, even if, let's say, you're, you know, ethnically a Korean playing on the European server. So it's important to note that basically these guys really view SaSe as somebody who's got some equal training ground.
Yeah. And in fact, he is quite revered in Korea for his great Protoss versus Terran, so that is going to make this match quite a pleasure. And now, SaSe has actually gone for a double gas build here. That means that he is going to tech up some amount. Now, it could be something with Void Rays, it could possibly be a Phoenix opening, or it could be a Robo.
Yeah, there's a couple different options here, so we can't really discern too much just yet. Marine King is, of course, getting that second barracks up here. I assume he's going to get a tech lab with that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be a 2 barracks pressure build. Some Marines, some Marauders, maybe get out Concussive Shell, maybe Combat Shields, and just go down and pressure Protoss. If Protoss is a little bit too greedy, sometimes you can catch him off guard. And oh wow, look at that, SaSe doing a build that Huck kind of made famous, getting his 2 gases very quickly and then making a Nexus.
As you can see in the Protoss's main base, it looks like he's not fully mining from all the gases. So
yeah, he's got
that's
2 on
very
each.
intentional. So, and it looks like he just removed an additional probe from the gases. So now more gateways are being thrown up here. And he does take that probe that made the 2 gateways, puts that back into gas.
Yeah, it looks pretty standard for SaSe. This is something he does a lot. He does a lot of gas balancing. He really has a good understanding of how much gas he needs when with Protoss. So, you know, I think he will be all right with those extra couple gates coming up. He's going to have plenty of Sentries, Stalkers, and Zealots. He just is going to have to micro very well, which is really SaSe's strong point.
Yeah, you know, SaSe being a Warcraft 3 player, they do have very good control, especially early game when you have a small number of units. But do not underestimate, MarineKingPrime's ability to dart in there, to do damage. And I would say, I think out of most of the players that I've ever had the opportunity to cast, seeing a MarineKingPrime control a big army is another terrifying thing.
It is indeed. In fact, 2 of the best micros in the world going up against each other right now. Marine King getting ready to move in and expand behind it. Very common tactic.
All right, let's see if he can spin out some force fields. He's got to be very careful with how he approaches this.
Oh, pretty good force fields. Oh, a beautiful force field right there. Targeting down the Marauders as quickly as he can. A bunch of Marines left over. He's got to be careful and get a little bit more to that army. Doesn't want to lose any Stalkers or Sentries here. And that was actually just beautifully microed by both players.
All right, he may be overextending himself just slightly. That Stalker does get away. Remember, there are some bruised Marines and Marauders, and with no medevacs out yet, those cannot heal.
That is right. But Marine King continues to rally down more and more units. In the meantime, we do have a pylon that's gone up at the natural base of MKP, so that could cause him problems later. But right now, we do have another engagement. That force field not being as useful as he would have liked, but it looks like he has enough units anyways to just force back this attack.
He is driving them back. The Sentry taking some hits, and it goes down. The Sentries, of course, the most important units for Protoss to keep alive early on.
That is quite right, Tasteless. Now, will we see SaSe actually go for a counterattack? He's got no additional tech so far. We see Marine King going up quite quickly to his starport. He wants to get those medevacs out right away. And oh, he sees the warp in, and that could be really bad. Oh, no! SaSe in a ton of trouble here. Losing, it looks like he'll lose all of these Sentries, doing really no damage with them, and that should actually put an end to this attack. He's lost the pylon, he's lost 2 of the 3 Sentries. Totally ineffectual, a little bit sloppy warping them in that far away from the pylon.
You know, it's funny to see that where he warped them in. Because that's just in range of the presumed expansion.
Down into the left, and those warp in, and then this entire game looks different. The entire game.
So now it's a little bit of sloppiness there by SaSe. The game will go on, but of course, he's already lost about 3 Sentries in this game.
That's right. He actually has lost 3, and you don't want to lose any Sentries as Protoss. They're very expensive, very gas heavy, and that's just something you want to spend on tech and other more expensive units later on in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Now, their supplies are fairly even. There might be just the slightest disadvantage for SaSe since, again, he did lose those Sentries, but nothing that, you know, should make us too concerned for those of us rooting for SaSe right now. The medevacs are now moving out. MarineKingPrime is pretty well known for pushing at moments like this. Note, if we can get a shot of the factory moving out there, that's actually, it's possible to mess up Stalker AI in the middle of a battle if some of the Stalkers in the back end up hitting that factory. Now it looks like he's gearing up for a potential attack in here. Scanning, destroying the observer. Will he go further? We're going to find out soon.
Well, with those two medevacs, this is a scary moment for SaSe. He doesn't have a big army in comparison to this, and in fact, good kiting going on by MarineKing right now. He may, in fact, lift up these units. He does, and he runs behind the force fields. Nice move by MarineKing, but SaSe still warping in a lot of units. Does he have enough to actually hold this off?
You know what? I think he might just barely. Yeah, he does. Wow. But with the Immortal out, he will absolutely have to turn around.
Targeting down that Immortal, though,
actually, no, the Immortal not being micro back to my shock.
Uh-oh, and SaSe losing sentries here.
MarineKing actually picking up some Marines and putting them in the medevac the moment they're taking too much damage. Beautiful micro here coming from MarineKing.
Oh man, his micro is actually just too good here. Tasteless SaSe does not have anything against us. His stim is going to finish pretty soon here. And without any splash damage out yet for SaSe, I don't know if he's going to be alive much longer.
All right, he does back up, but there is a steady stream of units coming down here now. He heals up stim, maybe about 5 seconds away from finishing.
Oh,
and the robotic facility is unpowered. Sorry, go ahead, Artistus.
Oh, and we do have charge for these Zealots going after all these units. Decent force fields there, even having to bring in probes, though. Still in a very hard spot, and as more medevacs join the battle, the healing potential of this army goes up and up.
Now he's going to back off here, probably unload again, and just try to make sure that his army is the best possible. Going though for the Immortal, and goodbye. Sentries next to follow. And remember, the sentries don't do quite enough damage to really snipe the medevacs, except for perhaps this one that's really in the red.
And, you know, now we have 6 medevacs out here, Tasteless. That is a ton of medevacs.
Oh, my God.
It is a point of no return maybe for SaSe here.
But one more Immortal about to come out. And actually still going for the, nope, now he's switching up and going for this Immortal. The Immortal does go down.
He does lose all his units, and his factory will go down in this time. Well, that was a little bit indecisive of MarineKing, but he's just worlds ahead right now. The supply 90 to 69, that's a 20 supply lead at this point in the game. That is going to be very rough for Protoss to come back from, especially as he still has no splash damage, and there are 6 medevacs out right now. And no, 8 now. He has 8 medevacs. That is so much healing. Just a straight-up gateway army is going to have a terribly hard time killing off these Marines and Marauders.
You know what this game is reminding me of is the game we saw early on here, as many of you probably joined in, or at the start of this MLG, where he faced off against MC. He just kept chipping away at him, and MC was not able to keep up, and what eventually was completely smothered by the army of MarineKingPrime.
That's right. We do have some upgrades going. Very important for that. And ooh, the watchtower catches that medevac, and in fact, MarineKing knows that he's not going to just suicide that medevac now.
Note, SaSe, if you can check on the mini-map here, little pylons placed here and there to try to keep some map control wherever he can. But honestly, SaSe has been forced into such a defensive posture. It's about 120, well, I guess now 128 supply to 96.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference at this point in the game, and ghosts have just popped out, getting ready to take that additional base, and he will find the pylon. But with these ghosts popping out, Tasteless, I feel like just complete control is in MarineKing's hands.
Now we have, as you can see, actually hold that thought over here. We see the pylon now destroyed. And the third base will be taken. This will force SaSe into, of course, taking the third base zone now. And I think that's going to be the big moment. We're going to see if SaSe can stay in the game, because now the supplies have picked up even more. Almost 150 to roughly 100 supply here. MarineKingPrime, if he pushes in and controls his army well, could wipe out the Protoss' army as well as that third base.
Oh, and here we go. EMP is going off, hitting almost everything. The sentry's going down, and the Zealot shields as well, just microing back here. Those couple of Archons and that Immortal are now the backbone of this army, but MarineKing, He has so much. He has 1-1 upgrades, in fact, but SaSe does have 2-1. Can he actually hold here? Warping and Zealots frantically. The two Archons just have to do a lot of damage.
The Archon's not quite able to get close enough. One goes down, the second being targeted. But it looks like MarineKingPrime's army is thinning out. And once again, very nicely done by SaSe, deflecting that and taking out Medivacs on the way.
A huge move right there, but still a big supply difference. MarineKing has his third base up, as we see. A little bit of harassment was going on, but not enough to really sway the game back into the favor of SaSe yet.
Unless I'm crazy, I don't see a single Medivac out now for
You're not crazy,
for MarineKing. There's no Medivacs in the game right now. They're being made, but that's a pretty big deal. I mean, what it indicates to us is that MarineKing has to be very cautious with every future engagement.
Yeah. And look at this. Another Robo and a Robotics Bay going up after he killed off all the Medivacs. That is a perfect decision by SaSe. The Starport is actually just going to be used to rebuild those Medivacs, so he's not going to have time to get out enough Vikings to deal with Colossus. So a huge switch into Colossus at this point, if he lives long enough to get out 2 or 3, is going to maybe shift the game back into his favor.
You know, one of the beautiful things about this matchup is just how you have to tech switch back and forth and always try to just stay as, you know, with that kind of composition that counters exactly what your opponent is sending at you. Now, MarineKingPrime, realizing that he doesn't quite have as much of a massive advantage since losing those Medivacs, is going to go out in the middle of the map, seeing if he can't pick up or snipe anything else. Surprisingly, not scanning that observer over him, but instead his opponent's army. Now he knows, now he scans. Let's see what happens next.
Oh, this is a dangerous moment in the game. SaSe may want to even give up this expansion. He still has the chance to win this game with Colossi, so he does, in fact, a perfect decision there by SaSe. No way could he have saved that Nexus.
No to heavy supply block there for SaSe, while MarineKing is about 1-8, or he is so close to being maxed out here. It's getting scary.
Yeah, a 60 supply lead right now, but the first Colossus has come out, a second one very close by, and I'm sure a third will start soon as well. The problem is Thermal Lance just got started, and MarineKing on 4 bases, his macro is going to be out of control. SaSe is going to have to be extremely cost efficient.
Okay, now taking the Nexus, and I really don't think this Nexus is meant for this world, as it is destroyed about as quickly as it can be built. Now SaSe does cancel it, and MarineKing again continuing to dominate. You can see there's some debate here. Do I move in and try to kill, or do I keep my advantage and just wait for him to make the next move outside his base? Nice! Over there are EMPs, or snipes rather, from the Ghost. And this may be a very risky angle to come in at.
He's got to be careful. No Thermal Lance means that those Colossi can be hit, but he's doing a ton of damage. The Archons and Zealots tanking a lot, but the Colossi both go down. And now MarineKing is in just an indomitable position. It looks like he's going to clean up the game right now.
This, I think, is it. GG, SaSe. You know, MarineKing, he really put the pressure on early on. That is not something we really see, that style from a lot of Terran players. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was really impressive by MarineKing. But, you know, SaSe played a good game. The problem is that, you know, he took a lot of damage early on. What, JP, Rob, what do you guys think?
Let's get the backup nerds in on this.
Man, so, number one, MKP has been showing us that the arena clearly wasn't a fluke. Right?
Yeah.
Number two, MKP just actually plays the game however he wants and forces you to lose. It might not make sense, but he'll. Nick, you talked about tech switches a little bit earlier. He actually doesn't need to do that ever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of, you know, Artosis said SaSe played a good game. His TVP, or excuse me, his PVT is just almost on another level, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really quite out of control. I'm really curious actually to see in the future games if MarineKingPrime can keep this up.
Yeah, you know, that map, Protoss a lot of times doesn't really like it, but it did get a little bit later into the game. MarineKing's early attacks were very strong, very nice. But I don't know, man. I think SaSe can still take this.
Oh, he absolutely has what it takes, for sure. I mean, we saw SaSe is also one of those players that does the weirdest builds that you have ever seen, but they work.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he also is over in Korea over there, just mass gaming, trying so many different new things in this matchup that eventually, I mean, he's got to get something right. So
yeah. Now, on the other hand, though, man, MKP is only one game away from going 3-0 in this first round of pool play, so that's huge.
Yeah, that is actually pretty huge. That just means 2 players out of the open bracket he will have to defeat to be ranked top 6 in this tournament already. Marine King is really on fire lately.
All right, guys, well, we're going to go to a very quick commercial break, but when we get back, we're going to have some more StarCraft 2 action, so stay tuned here at MLG.